All right, this is Logan, and that's my mama. And we're gonna be doing a presentation now, and hopefully it'll stay in focus. Okay. All right, Daddy. Sit in. Gotta turn on my slideshow. Okay, persuasive speech. Why pet adoption is better than buying. There are some myths about pet adoption that some people believe that keep them from wanting to go to a shelter, and I wanted to go over them and review them and why people might think them. First one is that there's all mutts, or there's all mixed breeds in a shelter, and nobody wants a mixed breed because they think they're ugly or whatever, and it's not true. There's actually 25% of the pets that make up a shelter are purebred animals, cats and dogs. And even if you do get a mixed breed, they still are very healthy, they're still very lovable, and they actually sometimes are better than getting a purebred because people don't want them as often, and so they're very eager to please, and so they're good pets. Second one is that the pets that are available are too old for my child, my family, or just for myself. And because they've gotten to a certain age, I can't train them anymore. So if they have any bad habits, I can't train that out of them. And that is not true. The average age of most dogs and cats that come into shelters across the United States is 18 months or under. And even if you do get a pet that maybe you're not qualified to train it, or you're finding it's difficult to train them to sit or go outside or something, a lot of shelters offer training clinics in which you can meet with other pet owners who have adopted, and there's a trainer there who's a professional behavioral expert, and they can help you train your pet into being an excellent little doggy. A pet from a shelter has medical or behavioral issues. This is also false. All animals that come into an ASPCA shelter are examined by a vet the instant they come in. They're overviewed if they have any medical issues, like maybe they've been too much starved, and they're too skinny, or they have some kind of disease or some kind of impediment. It's completely evaluated, and once they're all clear across the board, they're also dewormed and vaccinated. Also, if they have any behavioral issues, like maybe they think they're kind of wary around female people, or if they're not good with pets, they get a temperamental evaluation. And if there are any things that they think can be resolved, then they'll go through training the pet to get over that. And if they think that the animal's too aggressive around small children or with their food or with other animals, they usually won't put them up for adoption. Reasons you shouldn't buy. 90% of puppies and kittens that are found in pet shelters are usually traced back to what's called puppy mills. And these are facilities that are 100% dedicated to just breeding their male dogs and just round the clock pouring out puppies so that they can make more cash. A lot of times they aren't very sanitary. The females are kept in these small cages, and it's just they aren't cleaned, and they aren't fed, they are dehydrated, they don't get proper vet visits, and they could spend their entire lives just cooped up in these pens and never allowed to walk around. The puppies are also separated from their mothers very early, and they're usually crowded together all in one cage, and they also are not fed properly, they don't get proper vet visits, and so on and so forth. It's not that the pet store owners, if you buy them from a pet store, are trying to deceive you into thinking that these puppies are healthy. A lot of times you're being tricked as much as the pet store owner into thinking that these puppies are healthy, because when the pet store owners are sold these puppies, the people who are selling them are usually very deceptive. They're like, oh yes, these puppies, look how healthy they are, how happy they are, how playful, and the pet store owners will believe it, and they'll buy them and they'll sell you the same thing, not knowing that these animals have diseases, that they've been kept in inhospitable conditions and so forth, and you can end up having a dog that, if even it is healthy and it is playful, they could still have behavioral issues because they've been raised in a bad environment. Backyard buyers are also, they're kind of like people who, they have a very healthy, friendly looking home, and they sell these animals like they're just like, oh, we just have like 2 dogs and we just decide to breed them. And they seem friendly, but actually they could be cutting corners as well. They could not have their animal evaluated before they breed them. They could not have genetic like screening, and they could not get their puppies vaccinated after they're born. And they won't tell you about this because maybe they don't know about it, they don't know about the regulations you have to do that goes into breeding dogs and cats, or they just don't care. And you'll think it's safe because you're going to like a home instead of a pet store, but it's actually just as risky. Facts and figures. There's estimated about 70 million strays running the streets of America today. 6 to 8 million of those strays are picked up by shelters and the ASPCA. 90% of them are deemed to be healthy and adoptable. Of these, only about 10% of the pets that are brought in are actually reclaimed by owners. The rest just kind of sit there and wait to get adopted. 3 to 4 million of these pets in shelters are forced to be euthanized because no one adopts them. And it's not because they had medical issues or because they were bad temperament or something. It's just because the facility didn't have space for them and they had to make room for more arrivals. So after a period of time, they're forced to put the animal down. 70% of pets in America that are bought outside of a shelter end up being abandoned. While only 20% of shelter animals that are adopted are actually returned. So the numbers are actually pretty significant. Finally, I was just going to say that these are pictures of a bunch of different animals and with their loving owners. And if you look at them, you can't tell which animal maybe had come from a shelter or which one had been bought, because all animals just want to be loved and cared for. And it shouldn't matter if they were a purebred, if they were bought from some fancy long line of beautiful well-bred dogs, or if it was a mixed breed mutt. They're all lovable, they're all good pets, and if it's cheaper really to get a pet from a shelter because it's less money, they're vaccinated, they're shot, they have been evaluated, so you know you're getting a good pet, and it'll help decrease the amount of puppy mills and overpopulation and strays that are already available and running around in America. And that's it. How do I pause it? I don't know. I'm gonna click